Hello, hello. Welcome to the Confidence Cure podcast with myself. Today we have the lovely Andy Keaveney, who has joined me. So hello, Andy.
Good morning to you, Louise. How are you?
Hello. I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Yes, I am very well, thank you.
Are you over your illness?
I am just out the back end of a week, rested up. I'm feeling like absolute shite. It's been a tough one. I was going through the story before. I go hiking quite a lot, and
Mhm.
I was supposed to go to hiking in the Lake District. I was supposed to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning a week last Saturday, and I'd not been for 3 weeks, and I was itching to get out. It's like it's ingrained in me. I need to get out, and I woke up at 5 to 7. So I'd set all my alarm at 4:45. Woke up in blind panic, thinking, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to get there." And then, sort of within an hour of waking up, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. So I've been on my backside for a week, which has been tough, but you've just got to manage it sometimes, haven't you? So I'm just coming out the back end of
Yeah,
it now. I've done my first training session this morning, so I feel
good.
better.
Good. You've been through a lot worse though. So if anyone's listening to this, Andy has a huge story. He has literally turned his whole life around. And so his little man flu was literally nothing compared to what he's been before in life. So do you want to
Absolutely noted
explain a
it.
little? Literally nothing. Do you want to explain a little bit about your story, about where you've come from?
I was brought up on a council estate just outside of, about 12 miles outside of Manchester, a little place called Hagfold. I was born in Lee, and then at 16 years old, I left school, straight from school, and within 30 days, I was in the army.
Hmm.
So I'd only done it actually because I got a few days off school to go to the Army Careers Office, and I thought that was great at the time when I was at school.
Yeah.
And then it sort of caught up with me. And it was like, no, actually, you're in now. I was like, oh shit. Right. So I joined something called the Junior Leaders, which is like you've got to do a year's basic training.
Is that in
And
Harrogate?
no, that was in a little place called Cologne,
Oh,
Chippenham,
okay.
which is just outside of
Okay.
Bath. So
Okay.
plenty hills to run up and down, let me tell you. So I
Yeah.
did that for like 12 months because normally you do like it's 3 months basic training as a soldier, but
Yeah.
because you can't sign on until you're 18 years old, you've got to do this junior leader. So it's just basically a year of running and absolute getting beasted and just pushing you to breaking point, which was good. It was a really good experience when I look back. It took me from being a boy, literally leaving school, dragging me to having a year's worth of discipline to push myself and see how far you can push the human body. It's just, that gave me a bit of an insight into what you can do with mindset, I suppose,
Yeah.
as a young lad, because some of the things that they had us doing, it was just like, how I can't carry on doing this. But because you're in a platoon of like 30 people, you can't be the one that lets everyone down.
Yeah. I know.
They used to
I
do
know
this
that.
thing to us once, right? So they used to have a stream at the bottom of it, and it was called Lone Tree. So it was like a stream at the bottom of a massive hill, and you could see where thousands of people had run up and down it because there was like a track running up this hill, and there was a tree at the top of this hill, and then you'd have to run back down it through the stream and back up, and you had to do it until nobody slipped.
Oh my gosh. You did
So
it though,
imagine
right?
30 people running up and down that. And when one person slips, everyone's like giving him a dig, like, "I've got to do this again." And you'd just be doing it for hours and hours. But it was just there to break you and to make you realize that you're doing this as a team.
Yeah, no, no, that's good. And then what happened there then? So like obviously that would have meant built your mental resilience. You would have like looked at career wise, you've got like a bright future ahead of you when you do that. What happened?
Trained as a heavy goods driver. That was going to be my trade in the army. So I got sent to Germany after I'd done all my HGV. So you do your HGV, you do your car test, you do your bike test. Did all that like when I was 17 years old. So I had all that behind me and then got posted to Germany, which
Okay.
that would have been 1989. So I was like 18 then when I got to Germany. And the
Hmm.
culture at that time in the army, I suppose it's changed a lot now, was just drink. You just had to drink. It was alcohol. Everything revolved around alcohol and getting pissed. And just, I took that then to the next level because I've always had that sort of kind of personality. I was good. I was a good soldier. I did what I was expected to do, but then to fit in and to be part of one of those guys that had been there 10 years in some instances, I was going out every night. I was getting pissed. I was getting involved in fights. I was starting to make a bit of a name for myself in the wrong way.
Okay.
One morning, after many I could just list a load of catastrophes that I'd caused and fights that I got into and trouble that I got into. But the sergeant got really pissed off with me, and he said we was on parade this one morning, and he turned around and he because the Gulf War was about to kick off. So this was like
Yeah.
early 1990. Uh, and he said, I need 4 volunteers to go to the Gulf, and Keaveney, you're one of them. So I was selected as the first volunteer, which was like, I think he'd done it to sort of straighten me out and sort of take me off
Yeah.
because obviously you can't drink over there.
Yeah.
So that was it. I was selected to go and join another regiment in Germany to then be sent over to the Gulf to drive these brand new wagons that they just bought to basically set up the ground war, which is
Hmm.
what we did. So went to my new regiment, flew over to the Gulf, and we was responsible for taking all the ammunition off all the ships that had been took over to a little town or a little place on the coast south of sort of Iraq called Al Jabail, and we spent months literally just living in our cabs. So you'd drive for 12 hours, you'd swap over, your co-driver would drive, and that's all we did for like 4 months. Ships back out to the desert, drop off ammunition, drop off whatever it needed to be, and we were just setting up the whole of the ground war. And that probably took
Okay.
4 months,
Great.
I'd say, and it was really, really hard graft. And then it sort of
Okay.
the ground war kicked off, and that's pretty much where it all sort of certainly where my trouble started because instantly on that day that it kicked off, one of my colleagues who I'd been training to use this wagon that we'd been assigned to use, he went 2 wagons behind me on the very day that this happened, which was it was weird. I got my original co-driver back, and we was coming out of Iraq, so we dropped off a load of ammunition. We was coming back into Saudi Arabia to pick up again, and these things that we were carrying were called multi-launch rocket systems, and they were like imagine them. There was like big pods on the back of your wagon, and you'd probably I think there was like 6 in each pod, and you was probably carrying
Yeah.
16 pods. So in each pod there was 60 bombs.
Oh my
Now,
God.
when they got fired from this sort of tank, this armored vehicle used to fire them. Those 60 bombs used to go into the air and then split into 644 bombs, and then they'd just wipe out a full kilometre square, and they worked on pressure. So by the time they landed, it was probably about the size of a cricket ball, something like that. And then they blew up, and they just wipe out, like I say, a massive space. It was just basically to decimate the target. So as we're coming out of Iraq, this guy who's not been with us long and I've been training, we all stopped for a piss. He jumped out the wagon, and all you heard was this massive explosion. So he picked one up and jumped back in the cab with it because he thought it was going to take it as a souvenir. Didn't really know what it was. And it exploded as soon as he hit the seat.
Oh my God.
So I'd been trained as a medic previously. So everyone was looking screaming for a medic. It was you can imagine what it was like. The scene was it was carnage. So I just dropped what I was doing. I ran back, and the driver of the wagon, still alive, he's holding onto the steering wheel, couldn't move. It was I can't explain how he never got hit by all the shrapnel because it looked when I looked in the cab, it just looked like someone had, you get like a knife thrower at circuses and they throw around, and it's just like that's exactly what it looked like round his head. All the shrapnel had gone into the cab, the headline into the cab, and everything had missed him. So all you could smell was just this cordite smell, which is like this really acrid fumes. And I'm trying to drag him out the steering wheel and try and drag him off, and he was just in shock. Eventually, I got him out, and then I had to start working on Jason, who was in the passenger seat. But he'd got massive holes in his legs. One of his arms had gone missing. All his throat had been blown open. It was just an absolute shit show trying to, and that was like really my first experience of trying to one. It was like a first battle experience,
Hmm.
and you just get involved because you've been trained as a soldier.
Yeah.
You just kick into
Instinct.
autopilot. Can't explain it. With 19 years old, it's like you're applying field dressings. You're doing all the stuff that you've been trained to do, and then it was obvious that we had to get him out of the cab.
Hmm.
So me and this, I can't remember who was there, but we've got him out and we've got him onto the floor and we're trying to save him. We're applying all the dressings. We've put an airway down his throat to try and help with his breathing, but his lungs had filled with blood, so it was just blood coming out, and was doing CPR, was trying to keep his heart going. And it just felt like I was there forever, just trying to, doing the compressions, trying to keep him going. And then someone just touched me on, I think it was my lieutenant, just touched me on my shoulder and said, Andy, he's gone. And I couldn't accept that. It was like, because it felt like it was my responsibility to try and keep him alive. But
Mm.
unfortunately, there was nothing we could have done for him. He passed pretty quickly, as I don't suppose he suffered much pain, but it was just that moment of being told that he's gone that just absolutely rocked me. And I remember being sat there. The biggest memory I've got from that day, I wrote my mum letters and I've still got them, was being sat on the back of a wagon, looking out into the desert and just thinking, his mum and dad don't even know yet. He's just passed. I'm still sat here covered in his blood, and his mum and dad don't know what happened. And that was like, I suppose that's where sort of guilt started coming in, and I started feeling guilty that I'd not saved him, and that then just started a spiral of, not at the time because we were still there, we had a job to do, so you had to try and put that to the back of your head and crack on.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, it was just, I mean, after that, the ground war, it was just the things that we saw over there. I mean, we drove into Kuwait to sort of liberate Kuwait, and there's one road in and one road out of Kuwait called Basra Road. And the helicopters had gone over before us and just completely annihilated everything because the Iraqi army had found out that we was coming. So
Mm-hmm.
they tried to, there was sort of looting showrooms, they was getting cars, motorbikes, anything that got to get out of this road. Well, these, I think A10s, I think they were called, they were just completely annihilating this road. So by the time we got there, you can imagine what the scene was like. It was just, there was bodies everywhere. It just stunk to high heaven. And we was going in to Kuwait to drop off these water purification things that you could drop by the side of the sea and they'd filter into fresh drinking water for the troops. So that was another layer of like seeing things that, I mean, this happens, it's part of being at battle. But then when you come back from that, and it was literally we flew back from Saudi, we landed in Germany for one day. We had the biggest piss up you can imagine. So everyone was just like, and the culture shock you've got from being in the desert from 6 months at war, under threat,
Yeah.
thinking you could be killed any day. That sort of mentality, because your mindset changes to a place that you just can't explain to anyone else. Things become normal that no one would ever think are normal.
Yeah, definitely.
It was in there for one day. We had this massive piss up. It turned out everyone started fighting because it was just like the aggression had been built up for 6 months. And then the day after that, we flew on and we was on
Okay.
leave for like 5, 6 weeks.
So what happened then? Is that when you started drinking again and then
Yeah, well, at the time, this was like 1991. So I'm just outside of Manchester. All the illegal raves are happening. So the rave scene was just going absolutely mental at that point. So I just thought, this is my escape here. This is what I can do to sort of, one, numb the pain. Two, I don't have to go and speak about it because, it wasn't like going out getting drunk. You could just go out and get absolutely off your head on a couple of these and you just forget everything. So I did that for like 5 weeks.
okay, and then what happened? Like, did you have to stop it completely and go back, or did you?
Thing. So I was taking this really strong amphetamine stuff at the time, which was just like, it wasn't the powder, it's what they call the paste. So it's the strongest that you could get before they start cutting it down. So I thought I'll get some of that and I'll take that back with me to Germany because I built up a sort of resilience to it at that point, and I thought, and almost like a psychological dependence on it, really, because I've been taking it pretty much every day. And I thought I can't just stop taking it and go back to. So I bought sort of half ounce of this stuff and took it back to Germany, but I got caught on the Dutch German border.
Okay.
So these guards, I think they was tipped off, and I can't prove it to this day. But anyway, I'd only told a couple of people, and when we got there to the border, it was like, right, stop, everybody out. The seats were, they were taking the seats out of the car, they were stripping it right down, and I'm thinking, oh shit, this isn't good. And the last place that they looked at it in a ski hood at the back of my jacket, and I put it in there. And I stood there and he was coming patting us down. And then he flipped open these press studs at the back. And I thought, oh, shit. And he gets it out and he's waving it in front of my face like that. Cocaine, cocaine. And I thought, oh, I'm done now. So I went, yeah, yeah, I'm okay. And that didn't go down well. So he had me on the
No,
floor. I
okay.
was handcuffed. And then the military police come and pick me up. Anyway, I ended up being court-martialed for that.
Hmm.
But it took me like 6 months to get to court-martial. So during that 6 months, I just went massively off the roads because I'm going to get kicked out of here. They're going to make an example of me. So we just started going everywhere. We started going to these rave clubs in Rotterdam. We ended up went missing for like 3 days, and it was an absolute shit show. I was causing carnage after carnage. They ended up, because it was getting that bad, they put me in close arrest. So they put me in a cell on my own for like 50 days,
Oh
solitary
my God.
confinement. I know. And all I had at the time to do was draw. So they gave me pens and pencils and colouring pencils, and I drew all these drawings, which I've still got now. And it was like anti-army. It was just all this outpouring of, because from my point of view at the time, I suppose this is where the victim mindset started. I think when I started looking back on what happened, it was if I was being a victim at that time.
Yeah.
Really, I was causing it myself. I was the one that was going out and causing all the chaos. But I
Yeah.
just felt like I wasn't being understood. I've been to war here and I've seen all this shit, and I'm only 19, 20 years old. I don't know how to deal with this.
Yeah.
But all the sort of treatment in inverted brackets that the army did at the time, it was all trauma focused. So it would sit you in a room with a guy and, right, tell me what happened. Well, how's that going to fucking help me? Taking me back to what I've just relived. But that's what the
Yeah.
army do. I mean, there's much better ways of sort of dealing with that trauma, which I've learned over the years. But that's what they kept doing. They kept taking me back
Okay.
to this original spot, and it just kept sending me west again. So that's why I thought I'm not dealing with that anymore, and that's why I took the sort of alcohol and drugs route. But then when I left the army, so I ended up serving.
Did you
Um,
get kicked out or did you leave because you
yeah, I
wanted
got
to?
court-martialed. So I went to they do what's called a court-martial. They send you to Colchester, which is the army prison,
Yeah.
and they've got two wings in there. So you've got I think it's A wing and D wing. D wing is if you're being discharged, and A wing is if you're serving your sentence and you're going back into the army. So I was being kicked out. So that's what happened. And you walk into that camp and it's like everyone's just pressed fast forward. It's just everyone's marching double time. You just get run off your feet for however long you're in. But because I'd served some of my sentence in close arrest, some of my sentence was reduced. But that was it then. I was out of the army and I went to sort of doing HGV driving, but I was still doing the raving. I couldn't break that cycle and it took me
So
years.
you was drinking and drugs even when you was doing like the
Yeah.
driving. Did you not feel, did they not say that was unsafe? Obviously, if you're drinking a lot driving.
It wasn't so much drinking at that point. It was more drug orientated, and I suppose that's
Okay.
not exactly making it safer. But I'd go out Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, sometimes even Sunday night. I was driving fucking big wagons at the time, So when I look back, it wasn't the wisest move to be doing, but I was stuck in a
Yeah.
huge rut of.
Yeah.
And then the early '90s, well, sorry, mid '90s came. I met a band called 808 State from Manchester, who were like a massive pioneer techno band. I ended up co-presenting their radio show off the back of
Hmm.
ringing them up a couple of times, and then got involved in that scene and their scene.
Yeah. So it's not good for when you're already in the drug scene.
No, so it just spiraled and I ended up and got such a good friendship with those guys. I went all over the world with them, touring and doing bits and bobs and DJing, and that's where I sort of got into the DJing lifestyle, and that then further fueled it, and it just carried on and carried on and carried on. And ended up being in a band with one of the guys from 808 States. That ended purely because of drugs and how it just takes over your life once it's got a grip of you. But then it starts going into really dark places. It started off as fun and a bit of escapism and turned into something where I'm sat in my house. Because what would happen is I'd go out and I'd have a couple of pints and I'd be all right. But as soon as I'd had 2 or 3 pints, that switch in my head would go, and then
Hmm.
I'd be ringing someone to get some drugs dropped off.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it followed that pattern for like 20, 30 years.
That's a
And
long time. A
it's a long
very long
time.
time.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, listen, when we was doing it, we was kicking the arse out of it. Like I'd go to festivals, and I can remember going to like places. We used to go to this dance festival called Beat Herder in Clitheroe, and I stayed away for 4 days solid, just
Wow.
completely just right. Let's have some more of that. Let's keep away. It was doing acid. It was doing you name it. If it was there, we was doing it. And me and my mate stayed away for 4 days, and that's the kind of mentality sort of got into. It was, but it gets to like I was just touching on. Then it gets to like dark spots where I'd go out. I couldn't just go to social situations. I'd go out, have a couple of pints. I'd then be ringing up for some coke, and then I'd always end up buying much more than what I needed because I knew at the end of the night I'd end up back at my house on my own, and I didn't want to be there without anything. So I'd stay awake then till 7 o'clock in the morning on my own
Doing drugs.
doing drugs, and just that then that's when it started getting really dark because I wasn't enjoying it. I was sat there, I was paranoid, I was every noise I could hear outside when there probably wasn't even noises. I was sat there watching the telly with no volume because I was so paranoid of what was going on outside. I was twitching the curtains,
That's
and it was just a
crazy.
horrible place to be.
Yeah.
And it was repeating until it got to like I remember getting to 50 years old. COVID was happening, so it was like the second bout of COVID in 2021, and I was on my own, and I was just I thought I can't carry on like this. If I carry on like this, I'm either going to die because the amount that I was doing was just yeah, I was lying in bed, my heart was beating out my chest, and I wasn't looking after myself. That's something that I'd always sort of prided myself in from being in the army, was going out doing the training. I sort of justified that, oh, if I can keep myself in shape. And I was kidding
Yeah.
myself. I was like 18 stone. I was huge. But I was thinking, oh, well, I'm going doing this training, but I was eating takeaways. I was just completely negating all the good work that I was doing by drinking, drugs, and eating shit. And
No.
I just had this moment of clarity and thought, I can't do it anymore. There's something
Yeah.
that's to change here. And slowly started sort of reading books, self-help books, listening to podcasts, listening to all kinds of sort of self-help. And in 2023, so it took me a couple of years really to sort of wean off. I started having like 30 days off drinking, 60 days off drinking. And you start going through process and thinking, oh, this is what I want. But it didn't actually physically land until 2023. And I went away because we have a reunion once a year with all the army guys who were in the Gulf. And in 2023, we went to Benidorm,
Mm.
and it was just what it was my last big blowout. It was like, same again, just over there, going seeing the Russians, loads of cocaine, just absolutely at it for 4 days. But when I got back from that, I had a shoulder operation booked in because I'd had arthritis in my shoulder. And I didn't think it was going to be anything big. I just thought, I'll go in, it's keyhole surgery, and I'll be out the day after. It wasn't. So it gave me like 2 weeks. I was properly out of the game. It was so painful, couldn't move. Gave me 2 weeks to sort of sit and evaluate. And obviously, I was having the come down and the shitty feelings of being away for like 4 days in Benidorm. That's when it hit.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
That's
do this anymore. I'm done. And I sort of knew it was weird. I just thought I could feel everything changing and didn't want to be that person anymore. But the nail in the coffin was while I was still ill with my shoulder, I went to a wedding, been invited to a wedding, one of my mates. Now, they'd been there all day. It was a lovely hot day. And I remember thinking to myself, right, I'm going to drive because I'm still on really strong painkillers. So I drove down there. And as I walked in, I just saw this sight of just people doing what I've been doing for the last sort of 20, 30 years. No judgment, by the way, here, but everyone was drinking, everyone was pissed,
yeah.
everyone was repeating the sentences. It was just like you could just see this is how I've been acting for the last 20, 30 years. And I thought, I don't want this. This is and I drove home that night and I felt really proud of myself because one, I'd not obviously had a drink, and I got in bed and I woke up the day after. And I just remember having that first cup of coffee and thinking, this is what I want.
That's amazing.
Just peace. I had peace of mind. I was proud of myself. And I felt this sort of inner surge of, right, this is exactly. what I need to do with my life. I need to fucking sober the fuck up. So what do I do? So how am I going to manage this? So I withdrew from all of that social scene, which was really hard because it was all my mates and what I knew. And I started going out climbing mountains.
That's
I just
amazing.
went out for one
Nature.
hike. Yeah, I went out at like a pair of trainers and a pair of shorts, not a clue where I was going, what I was doing. I was just like, fucking, I'm just going to go.
All
And
the
I
gear
went,
with no idea.
well, none of the gear and no idea.
Yeah.
So I went and did this mountain and I got to the top and I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Luckily, the weather was with me that day. So it's what started and that's really sort of been pivotal in my recovery is just being able to get out to places where I can go and process if I'm feeling in a shitty mood. That's why I always need to get out and go and that's like my reset button now.
That's amazing.
So it just amplified, and I started a little social media channel to sort of document what I was doing, going out into the mountains. That started taking a bit of traction, and it just sort of grew from there. And that was the start of me coming back. And I'm like, well, we're now 2 years, nearly 2 years, 4 months clean and sober. I've just been away this weekend to a friend's wedding festival where again all my mates were having fun and doing what they were doing. But I'm at that point in my life now where I was just like,
That's
I stayed
amazing.
over Friday night, camped on Friday night, and then DJ'd on Saturday night to finish the whole event off. Got in my car at 11:30 and drove on.
That's amazing. How you've the mindset's changed after 20, 30 years of them habits. You've turned all them habits around. That's amazing.
Yeah, but it's choices, isn't it? And I suppose you've got
Mm.
to get there by yourself to either. And I suppose that was probably my rock bottom was realizing where I was. Doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a rock bottom. It just has to be a clear decision that you want better for yourself. And
You've got to want to do it yourself because obviously if you don't want to do it yourself, you've got no motive. But like with yourself, I bet there's a lot of people that want to do the same as what you've done, but they don't believe they can because they're stuck in the rut. Like you once believed you were stuck in a rut, but you had it within you to do it.
yeah,
So
it's just down to having it is a choice. Ultimately, it is a choice. And because I'd spent so many years in a victim mindset, thinking, "Oh, well, everything's happening against me," and poor me. And I was like I say, I was going in and out of relationships. And when I look back, all of those really, not all of them, because there's always two people in a relationship. But if I hadn't have been in that victim mindset and I'd have been as I am now, because now I am completely accountable. And I think that's the
yeah,
big thing, and been the massive mindset shift for me was realizing that it was all down to me. Once I'd made that decision to better
yeah,
myself, I'm now accountable. And then everything just started making sense. All of the past mistakes, and don't get me wrong, I wouldn't change any of them because it's made me who I am right now.
yeah. Love that.
It 15 years ago, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to sort of take myself out of that victim mindset. I was comfortable with being in it because I was happy blaming everyone else because I didn't have to take accountability. But then when the penny dropped, it was like, yeah, all those common denominators, everything that had happened, the only one common denominator was me and my actions and my choices and my lack of accountability at that time.
Yeah, that's amazing. The fact that you've recognized that and you haven't blamed. Obviously, you went through a lot of trauma, like when you were younger and things like this. But the fact that you had a choice at that point and you've kept yourself accountable, like you'd have all had a choice and you blamed that, like this has happened to me. And now you're like, well, actually, I've got a choice. I had a choice, and now it is down to me to have the life I want, which is good. So the people that you help now, are they still, do you get some people that are still in the victim mindset or do you get some that are ready for the change basically?
Majority of the people that I'm dealing with at the minute are realizing, and I think maybe that's because one, the content that I'm putting out, I suppose, one helps them see that there is a better way, and that the start of it is being accountable and realizing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of them do come to me and say, "Listen, I'm ready to change. I've seen what you're doing." And that's a big sort of bonus. But if they were still stuck in the victim mindset, I suppose that's then got to be. I've not had that yet, but they need to address that, you know,
Yeah,
first because that's the element of the room that you need to address. So it's good that the people that are coming to me are one they actually realise and they want to change. But some of them are same as me, stuck in 20, 30 year patterns, and that's why I think I've got so much to offer in that respect because yes, I'm qualified to go and do this, but it's the lived experience, I believe, that I've dragged myself through it and done it the sort of school of hard knocks way, where I've had to sort of educate myself out of it. I know what it takes to do that. And I've also got the skills now to be a coach to ask those questions to then
Mm.
help other people, which is honestly so rewarding. I've had an email this morning of someone who I coached last week, and she was stuck in a rut of drinking, and but she says you've got no idea how powerful that session is, and when you get feedback like that, it makes such a difference. You know what I mean? Because you know that you're really helping someone.
Yeah, look at how you were the troublemaker in the army. They were trying to kick you out, and now you were the person that's like getting them types of people out of it. Like that's absolutely incredible, especially
Yeah.
after so long as well. That's like amazing. It's
It was put myself through the mill for years, and I don't know how I did it, but it's part of my journey, and I'm proud that I'm here to tell the story because I genuinely didn't think. I used to always say to myself, I'll be dead when I'm 50 because the amount of drugs I was doing. I genuinely
mm,
believe that that's how I was going to end up.
but you're not, you're alive and now you're helping other people. Like, did you ever think your life would be that?
You know, I can honestly say I had no idea that this is how it was going to turn out. And since I've made that decision to be accountable, so many different things have started opening up because I believe that once you make that decision,
Yeah,
the universe then starts finding and starts showing you paths. I believe in, the sort of that divine timing, and it was never right for me to find all the things that I'm finding now. Career wise, I'm starting at Liverpool College in a couple of weeks, doing a couple of years college course there where business students are learning from business owners instead of going back in and being taught by the teachers. And I'm just like, well,
yeah,
how have I ended up here? This is just brilliant. Having to then be able to impart some of my knowledge over the years because I've got like 25 years of sales. I was a sales manager for really high prestige motor car companies for years. So I've got all of that behind me as well. And I was holding down a job as well. So the resilient side of things sits really well with me because even though I was still causing chaos to myself, I never sort of gave up on myself professionally. I was always really
doing,
professional. I was really good salesman, then moved into being a business manager, then got promoted to sales manager.
mm,
I was behind it all.
inside,
Yeah, inside it
inside
was
you wasn't
chaotic.
happy. Did I
No,
so like even though you had like the job, you had like your professional life, you had all of that, how did you feel? Did people know that you were unhappy, or did people just what? Because like, obviously you're saying it was a really dark place, but at the same time you managed to stay professional and stuff. So the people around you, did they know you was unhappy, or did they just see a persona?
very good at masking it. The only time that it would really sort of hit me was when I was at home or I was on my own, or um, I suppose probably my partners would see it. If I was
Mm-hmm.
with a partner at the time, there's only so much you can sort of mask that because when you're drinking and when you're taking all that stuff, there's always a negative, there's always a come down, there's always a
Yeah,
so I'd always be the life and soul of the party when I was out, but then the sort of distances that I was struggling afterwards would take longer and longer. But at work, I would occasionally it would show its head at work, and I would, because you can't hide it all the time. But I would say probably 90% of the time they would just think I was this jovial, happy-go-lucky guy. But it had a
that's
dark side
crazy.
that no one saw.
That's crazy, isn't it? How you suffering? Well, you was kind of suffering, like you're trying to get help, so you numbed it for so long, and nobody even really knew. And now like you've managed to fix yourself by yourself, and now you help people, and you can tell people actually this is what it was actually like. That's
Some
crazy.
very, very dark places. So I understand if anybody comes to me with sort of anything regarding to that, I know what it's like to be in a dark place. I wouldn't ever class myself as like an alcoholic, but I certainly was probably addicted to drugs psychologically for a long, long time
Yeah,
because so I know what it's like to be in that place, but I also know what it takes to sort of get yourself out of it. But you've got to make that decision yourself. No one can come along and tell you,
yeah,
no amount of coaching or sort of professional help can help you until you're ready.
yeah, yeah. You've walked the walk, and you'll be able to tell if somebody's ready or not. You'll be able to tell, won't you?
Yeah,
Can
absolutely.
you tell when if you've met somebody that's on drugs? Will you be able to tell if they're ready to come off them or not?
Because I suppose I could have stood in front of someone and told them that I was ready when I wasn't.
Yeah,
So I don't suppose you'll ever 100% know, but you can generally sort of get a flavour of someone and how they're talking and the words they're using and whereabouts they're at. So I suppose I would be quite close, but you could never sort of guarantee that someone's ready. It's really got to be down to them. But if someone comes to you with the right attitude, you can generally tell that they're on that
You
vibe and
can
they want
tell.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And if you had to tell your past self somebody, because obviously you've got a lot of people that were like you, what would you say to them now? Like, because they probably don't believe that they're going to be able to do it. What would you actually say to them now? What do you say to them?
If you've made that decision, if you know deep in your soul that you are ready to make a change, it's not going to be easy. But and that's the thing. I think everyone has this misconception that it coming out of something like that, and I think that's maybe what keeps people stuck. It's not going to be easy, but it's not going to be as hard as you think.
Yeah,
Because once you've made that decision, yes, there's going to be tough times, and yes, there's going to be trigger points, and there's going to be because you essentially you're shifting from one person and you're trying to create a new version of yourself, which is always tough. But reforming those sort of neural pathways is it does get so much easier because once you start doing something, for example, like when I woke up and had that first cup of coffee, that was the first realization that this is a new kind of high that I want. And then
yeah.
repeating that over a
Like
period of
the how
time.
you're feeling about yourself.
Yeah. And when you repeat these good habits that become sort of the new sort of natural high, for example, yeah, that's the sort of key is start replacing those old habits because all the habit is you're just going in, you've got a trigger, then you've got a routine. So your trigger fires into your routine. It's about changing that routine because the routine then drives the reward.
Yeah,
So as soon as you start realizing that I just need to put a new routine in place, whether that be walking, whether that be having a bath, whether it be just whatever it might be. So your new routine, just create something new for yourself. That then drives a different reward, and
yeah.
it's easier to get your sort of head around it. I hope the cat's coming in.
That's okay. But no, that's absolutely amazing. So what's in store for you now? So obviously you're already coaching, you're starting at the college, you are also writing books, you're telling people about your story. Like obviously you're trying to inspire as many people as you can, aren't you?
So yeah, again, these are all things that have sort of come into play once I've made that decision that I want to be better. I'm involved in, I say the start over movement. So I'm writing my book. I want to get my story out. I'm doing my coaching to help people with resilience, mindset, alcohol free. I've done an alcohol free performance specialism as well. I'm involved with a group called Alcohol Uncensored, where I'm going to be going out doing sort of monthly hikes with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also starting up my own hiking, coaching. So I want to take coaching outside and sort of combine the both of the things that I'm really passionate about, which is one, getting outside and hiking, two, doing some coaching on the move as well with like groups up to
Yeah,
maybe 15, 20 people. So that's
that's
something that I'm
amazing.
moving into as well.
Look at how exciting that is compared to where you was before. And for such a long time, this is like your new norm as well, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah. It's all positive. I mean, I can't think of it's like when I go away, I can remember going to Oasis a couple of weeks ago, right? And it was probably one of the biggest life-changing sort of it was like an affirmation of everything I built myself up to. I was stood in the middle of 80,000 people. Everybody was drinking. Everybody around me was taking cocaine. And I was just stood there thinking, I couldn't think of anything worse. I'm not going to judge anybody, but I'm just quite happy here with my alcohol-free beer. I was just loving the fact that I could walk out of there, get in my car, drive home, and wake up the next morning, and I had the best night, and I remember every single part of it. And it's those nights and
Exactly.
those moments that make me think, actually, I've done all right here now.
So you used to take drugs and drink alcohol to make you feel free, but now you don't do it. You feel more free because you get to go off, you get to remember everything. So you've literally flipped the switch completely. Like you was doing all them things for that long, you didn't feel free. That made you feel free, and now it's the complete opposite. It makes you feel trapped.
Absolutely, and I'm more present, I'm more involved, and there's still times like all this last weekend where I've been away on this festival thing because I've kept myself to myself for sort of 2.5 years. I suppose that's one of the struggles that I've got now is adapting to social situations
Yeah,
without that. And it's all right for a night. I can do it for a night, but when I'm away to like 2 days, it becomes a bit of a because it's tough because everyone around you is doing that thing, and
yeah,
but I've been and done it, and I can just need to remove myself every now and again, just go and have a little bit of a reset, and then come back in and join
Ground
it.
yourself.
But
You just need to ground yourself and then just remember how far you've come, basically. No,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
incredible.
I mean,
Absolutely
I'd rather have
amazing.
this challenge than, be, because if I had gone and done what I used to do, I would be written off for like a week, 10 days afterwards. And
Yeah.
yesterday morning, so I drove home, got in my own bed, woke up yesterday morning, I was just like, actually, this is so good. You know what I mean?
So you're
It's just
making
pride.
yourself happy every single time you do it. You're
Yeah,
reminding yourself that something
I know.
amazing.
It's great.
That's crazy. Literally turns your life around. So where can they find you? Where, if anybody wants to reach out to you, is there any contact?
You can go directly onto the website, which is www.yourcomebackcoach. So yourcomebackcoach.co.uk. On there, you can either download a free sort of reset ebook, or you can book a free 15-minute call to have a chat and see if whether coaching is for you. It's just really an informal chat to say what coaching is, what coaching isn't, and you make an informed decision whether you think it's right for you. So you've got both of those options available on the website. It'll tell you a little bit more of what I do. There's a video there that tells you a little bit about the backstory. So that's a great sort of tool. Instagram, you can underscore your comeback coach, or Kevo Upper Mountain, which is the sort of mountain one, which is Keavo. So Kevo Up a Mountain. And that's the one
Okay.
where I post all my nonsense and me funny videos and just a little bit more self awareness.
Okay.
Not as professional, I would say.
You've got to have that platform because that's the platform you started when you first started.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of swearing on that, and just a lot of me going up
This is
mountains, taking the piss,
no.
which is it's just what I love doing. But I also like showing the real side of that. So that one thing I'm always sort of conscious of on social media is people putting the highlights reel on. I'll always
Mm,
show the flip side. I'll always, because life isn't like that. There's going to be
exactly.
tough times as well as the good times, and I try to document that as clear as I can.
Definitely. Yeah. People, because you only get a few seconds on social media, don't you? Your social media is literally a few seconds of your whole life. But like people do put all the good things. So then when everyone's comparing, like, why are they always having, like, it's not true at all. So it's a good thing that you do that.
But that's the danger of social media. There's some great things about social media, but if everyone's
Yeah.
comparing themselves against a highlights reel, which probably isn't realistic, because that person might be having a shit day, but then they've gone out and put that they're having this great day, and it's like it's false, and then that leads other people into lack of confidence and feeling, well, I've got to live up to their sort of life, and that's why I try and
Yeah.
normalize it as best as I can. And every time I do a post like that, it gets really good response because there's not enough of it, and people relate to it.
It's true. Yeah, exactly. I remember being around my friends once and she took loads of pictures and she sat down for like an hour or so, didn't speak, looked miserable as anything. And then I looked at my social media. She's put all these pictures on there saying having the best day and everything. And I'm like, what she put on social media compared to what I could see physically in front of her? I was like, is
That's
this
the
a good
danger.
day? Like it was literally just went around looking like made taking pictures of the kids and stuff. And I was like, but you're really not having you look really miserable right now.
Exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's
And then it was just that one selfie that made her look happy. And I was just like, so then I think that was years ago. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, people do actually pretend just to be happy on social media.
life.
Yeah, it is. But no, thank you so, so much for coming on and sharing your story. Such an inspiration. And you're going to change so many people's lives from young people at college and then people that are ready to like stop being a victim, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm trained. I'm a trained professional in that. Trust me.
You bought the walk, you've studied it, you know it in and out now.
100%. Yeah, I'm in a great place now to be able to help people. I really do enjoy it. I think
Good.
it's one of the biggest gifts you can sort of give back. And I never thought I'd end up here, but I'm absolutely loving it.
No, you've smashed it, honestly. You've literally smashed it. Thank you. Thank you for
Thanks.
coming. And I'll put all the where they can reach you below so they'll be able to reach you as well. Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for having me on.
You're more than welcome.